Hello and welcome back to POS-X Labs. Today we'll be going through the process for changing RAM in an EVO TP2 POS Terminal. For this task you'll need a Phillips Screwdriver, a number 2. I prefer a short and stubby because you're going to need to get to some screws that are difficult to get to. You'll also need a case opening tool. You may need more than one. You'll need new RAM and of course an EVO TP2 POS Terminal. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is disconnect that POS terminal from its power source. I think I'm good. The next thing we're going to do is lay that POS terminal down on its face. Remember to make sure that your countertop or tabletop is clear of any debris so you do not scratch the monitor. At this point, lift up the base of the monitor and go ahead and disconnect any of the plugs or cables down here. Once those are disconnected, you can put the base back down on the monitor, and then what we're going to do is remove these two screws here. Lift up on the base of the monitor and then remove these two screws here. Now our base is fully clear of our monitor and we can set it aside. Next thing we're going to do, go ahead and spin that monitor around. You notice there are several screws holding the casing onto the back of the monitor. We're going to go ahead and remove those screws next. Double check to ensure that all those screws are removed, because if you try to open the casing with a screw in there, you very possibly will damage the casing or your case opening tool. That's what we're going to do next. We're going to go ahead and pop it up. We're going to go right here where the power button is. We're going to use our case opening tool and we're going to put it in there in the seam between the power button and the rest of it. And then what you're going to want to do is go ahead and slide it to the left. I like to use my fingers to keep that seam open. If you're having trouble, you may need another case opening tool and you can keep it in place while you use one to go left and right. Go ahead and slide your casing back towards you. Go ahead and set that aside. The whole rear comes off. Now, we've exposed our heatsink and our cable housing, and this is our inverter. What we're going to want to do is we're going to remove the two screws from the cable housing. Now our cable housing is free. We'll remove these screws here at the base of the heatsink that hold the heatsink in place. Now all our screws are removed. What we're going to do is grab the heatsink with your left hand. You're going to tilt it up to the left side. You want to keep it on the inverter side. Think of it as if it was hinged because of these cables here. Okay? So we'll go ahead and lift this up. And here's our RAM right here in this little carriage. What we're going to do is go ahead and pull this over a little bit. It's just a real light touch. You'll feel it pop right out. Lean that RAM forward and then go ahead and pull it up and out. Set it over to the side. Take your new RAM. You're going to place it so that the metallic end is down. Go ahead and push down while holding on to the bottom of the heatsink frame, and then hear those click in. You know you're good. And then we'll go ahead and lay that heatsink back down. Make sure you keep your cables aligned. Now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reattach that heatsink and the cable housing, and then we're going to test it before we put everything back together, just to make sure that our RAM is properly installed. So the first thing we'll do is go ahead and reattach that heatsink. And then we'll go ahead and reattach our cable housing. Alright, now that our our heatsink is reattached and our cable housing is reattached, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to power the unit up like this to double check and make sure that our RAM is properly installed. So what you're going to need is your base. What you're going to want is this cable right here. This is your 19-volt power cable. We're going to plug that into the bottom of the unit here. Next, we'll go ahead and push this button right here and we'll power the unit up. What we're looking for is one single, relatively quiet beep. You'll see the light come on down here where the power button is, and you'll hear a slight beep. And there we go, we have our single beep, not multiple beeps, so we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead at this point and power it back down by holding down the button until the power light goes off, right here. Once that power light goes off, I can go ahead and disconnect from the power supply again. We'll take the rear of our monitor, the casing, we'll slide it up and over, and then go ahead and press it down into place. You'll hear it snap. And then we'll just go around and reattach all of our screws. Now we've got all of our screws back in the rear of our casing. Everything's solid there. I'm going to go ahead and lay the monitor again sideways and take our base. We're going to place our base back on to the rear of the monitor. I'll go ahead and attach these bottom screws here. Tilt the base back down. We'll replace these two screws up here. Tilt the base of your monitor up again once more, and then we're going to go ahead and plug everything back in. Once everything is assembled there, and there we go, mission accomplished. Go ahead and plug your unit back in, power it up, and you should be good to go. If you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to contact us. This has been Shane at POS-X Labs. Remember, POS-X, point of sale, simplified.